In a few more years, the trees should grow inward toward each other and shade the ground even more, which I think is a good thing because it will help contain the moisture in the soil even more than the grass does. Just shading the ground. Kind of like shade is kind of like a mulch. Over here, a light set on the red court this year. There's a few of them, enough for a taste. Maybe a dozen apples up here. So I'll get a taste. But not a lot from this tree. Doesn't seem to be a strong producer. The Wolf River is really, in the last couple of years, has really grown in size. And I'm expecting fruit on it next year. At a tree this size, you'd think it would have had fruit already. These trees out here, they get less sunlight than a normal tree out in the opening. They just mature slower. We had a death in the family today, or this year, or almost a death. Trees don't usually die instantly. This is a marquee Ida Red, and I cut it way back because it's been struggling for years. I think it has a problem with ants in the roots. So I cut it way back. Maybe it'll come back, but I'm not too worried. It's at the edge of the orchard here, next to the woods, and it doesn't get enough sunlight. That might be its main problem. Here is the Golden Delicious. Let me zoom in. Golden Delicious produce annually very well. They're a great apple, sweet. Almost everybody's tried one and like it. Although, if you get it from the store, it's not as good as the tree ripened ones. This is a Kodak M583 camera that I use, and what's one problem is when you're videoing, it will not change zoom. So you have to zoom in or zoom out and then start the video. So there's the Golden Delicious. Looking good. I've picked most of the bad apples off, although I see a few more bugged problem ones. So you can see the deformity there. And there's another one there. Most of them are in real good shape though. This was probably caused by frost damage early on, that rusting and possibly the hole too. Some apples, if they're going to get the right size, if they're going to get full size, and they're out here in the outer limbs anyway, even though they may be a little buggy, this is for the deer, so I'm going to let them grow. This tree was just loaded last year, and it wasn't thinned, and it has very few on it this year. I think it's a Gala. The Honeycrisp, man, you know, I keep thinning this thing, and it keeps having more. I mean, it looks like it keeps having more. They keep getting bigger. I didn't thin this one for bugs as much as, I sprayed it, but I didn't thin the bad apples off. Look at the take on some of these limbs. You know, something I found interesting about Honeycrisp is that they will have, sometimes they call these apple ropes. You know, they just really thick bunches of several apples, and I've noticed that Honeycrisp. Accidentally picked the whole thing off there. They might have several on this limb, for instance. On this limb last year, I had about 15 apples in one little spot. Beginning about late September, I picked off about half of them and ate them. They weren't as sweet as they could be, but they were still pretty sweet apple. They were good tasting, and that gave the other ones room to grow, and the other ones did keep growing. So I usually pick my Honeycrisp twice. I pick once like late September or or early October, and then a couple weeks or 3 weeks later to finish them off. But they've grown in that time. They do grow. They put a lot of size on in their last 3 or 4 weeks of growth. So this Honeycrisp tree is doing good. I have, of all my trees, I have about 75 apple trees, not counting the Espalier orchard or the ones I have just growing in pots right now. But I have seven Honeycrisp trees, and I have more Honeycrisp this year than any other apple producing. So I'll probably get, I don't know, I'm guessing 6 bushel of Honeycrisp, which is just amazing. I find that incredible. Well, okay, there's the apple orchard out here. Here's the cabin. So I named this orchard after the cabin, I guess, a cabin orchard. It's looking good. I don't mow this orchard as often as the other ones. I just let the grass grow taller and longer, and it helps more of as a mulch and to keep the moisture in the soil. If I mow it down flat, there's just nothing to keep the moisture in the sand hill. So let the wildflowers grow a ways and mow it, a couple times a year. That's it. Let's go to another orchard.